Hello and welcome, Sudoku friends. Today is April 28, 2023. Before us, we have the New York Times Hard Sudoku of today. Let's dive right in. Pretty clear that a 3 and a 9 block down here, so a 3 and a 9 must go in these two squares. And that puts a 9 up here somewhere. And these three squares now must be a 5, 8, and a 1. We got a couple of 1s blocking across, so here's a 1. Here now is a 5 and an 8. Given the 5 and an 8 here, we are still looking for a 1, 2, 4, and a 7 for the column. There's a 4 blocking here and a 4 blocking across, so here's a 4. Now we're looking for a 2, 6, and a 7. The 6 blocks up, so does this. So here's a 6. Now we are just looking for a 7 and a 2. The 2 blocks over, so here's a 7 and here's a 2, which blocks across, just as this one blocks across. Here's therefore a 2. These two squares must be a 5 and a 1 because we have a 1 and a 5 here. And that makes these squares here a 9 and an 8. And these squares, therefore, must be a 6, 7, and a 3. And that makes one of these a 3, because the 3 blocks over here, and a ghost 3 blocks over here. So one of these is a 3. A 6 down here somewhere makes one of these a 6. And now what? I'm intrigued by the 6, 4 here, the 6, 4 here, and the 6, 4 here, as they relate to column 8. Usually I wouldn't bother with examining a column or a row with only 3 givens, but these 4s and 6s intrigue me, as I said. So I'm going to see if they exclude some digits from the column. Let me start here because we have a lot of givens across. This square can only be 5 and an 8, I believe. It cannot be a 1, 2, 3. It cannot be a 4. It can be a 5, but not a 6, 7, and a 9. Yes, a 5 and an 8, because we also have a 5 and an 8 here and a 5 and an 8 here. So guess what? This is not going to be a 5 and it's not going to be an 8. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. So this is a 5 and an 8. And we have further 6, 4 restrictions up here. So what can this square be? It cannot be a 1. Why not, do you ask? Well, a 1 blocks over here, so one of these is a 1. Therefore, this cannot be a 1. It can be a 2, and it cannot be a 3, 4. It can be a 5, yes, but not a 6, 7, 9. So this is a 2, 5, and an 8. We have a 5 and an 8 here, and guess what? The same digits that restrict this square also restrict this square, namely 6, 1, and a 4. So these two squares have to be a 2 and an 8, a 2, 5, and an 8, sorry. And this is a 5 and an 8. And that means that a 2 must go here or here, and we have a 2 blocking over here, therefore this square is a 2. Back to the 2, 5, and 8, what's left? A 1, 6, and a 4. 4 cannot go here, but it could go here and here. What about the 1? Well, the 1 could go here or here, and the 6 here, here, and here. No, that's a little difficult. But we found the 2. Well, the 9 and the 3 here. What else is missing across here? This is, we know, a 5 or an 8. we're still missing a 4, 6, and a 7. 7 blocks down here. Oh, hang on, we got a 7 blocking across here, don't we? And we got a 7 blocking down here, so this is, of course, a 7. And now we have a 7 and a 9 here. Because a ghost 9 is here, we got a 9 here blocking over, so these are 7 and 9s, and this, therefore, must be a 5-8 remote pair. So 7 and 9. Oh, these are, of course, 8 and 9, aren't they? And we have a 9 here or here, so therefore it follows that one of these squares must be a 9. So we got a 7 blocking across here, and we got a couple of 7s blocking up. So a 7 must go here, and therefore a 7 must go here as well. We do have a 7 and a 9 pair here. So here's a 7 and here is a 9. Now we got 7 blocking up and 7 blocking down, so another 7 goes here. A 3 and a 6 here puts a 3 and a 6 in these two squares. A 6 blocks down, so the 3 must go here and the 6 here. Now these 3 squares must be a 9, 8, and a 5. Oh, hang on, we did figure out, I think that, well, the 9 blocks up here now, so here's an 8 and here's a 9. This 8 blocks across, this 8 blocks up, so here's an 8. One of these squares now must be an 8, and this square must be an 8. The last square here must be a 5. Three squares to go up here, and they must be a 9, which has to go here. And a 2 and a 3. So 2 and a 3 up here makes these a 5 and a 4. And therefore, these must be a 3 and a 6. And we know that one of these is a 3, therefore this cannot be a 3, it must be a 6, and this must be a 3. So now we got a 6 in one of these two squares. We got a 6 in one of these two squares. We need to find a 6 for one of these 3 squares. And we know that the top 2 squares have to be a 2, 5, or an 8. So therefore a 6 must go here. Now we need a 1 for the third row. The 1 blocks here, and this 1 blocks here. So here's a 1. Blocking down, this 1 blocks up. Here's a 1. Blocking across, this is blocking across, so here's a 1, and therefore this square must be a 1. This is a 5 because we do remember the 5 and a 1 pair, right? What can we do with these two empty squares? We have to find a 2 and a 3. Well, the 2 blocks up here, so here's a 3 and here's a 2, and therefore here's a 3. 2 and a 5 for these squares, we know that. Therefore an 8 and a 4 for these. The 4 blocks across here, so here's an 8 and here's a 4, which blocks across, making this a 4 and this a 5. We know that these were 5 and 8, so now the 5 blocks over, making this an 8 and this a 5. Still a 3 and a 9 here, and here now we have a 6 and a 5. The 5 blocks down, so the 5 goes here and the 6 here. 6 blocks up, 6 blocks across, so here's another 6. Here we now need an 8 and a 9. The 9 blocks over, so here's an 8 and here's a 9, and that makes this square 4. Which blocks over? This square, this 4 blocks up, so here's another 4. And the last digit must be a what? A 3. And this therefore must be an 8, and a 5 goes here. This 3 blocks down, making this a 3 and this a 9. 9 blocks up. One of these is a 9. What's the other one? It's a 2. And the third one then? The third one has got to be a 5. At least we got something. This is 5 blocks over, and this 5 blocks up. Here's another 5. And now we're looking for a 9 and a 2 for these squares, the 2 blocks up here. So the 9 goes here. And by the way, this must be a 2. And the 2 goes here. And the 9, therefore, here. The last digit must be an 8. And that is how we can solve today's New York Times Hard Sudoku. Thank you for following all the way through until now. See you back here again soon. Bye for now.